Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Man, what a difference a night of sleep makes. I feel like a new man today. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's right, man. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so today is Q&A day, but before I get into the questions and answers segment, I want to do a gratuitous Steadicam skateboard shot of Jack and I going through the streets of New York City. Here we go. All right, glad I got that out of my system. Now I'm covered in sweat. I also just destroyed my jeans. Okay, let's start the Q&A. All right, this will definitely be the sweatiest Q&A I've done yet. Let's get started. Raj, in a tense situation, would you run away or fight? And why? Okay, generally my feeling about violence is to avoid it at all costs. So always run away, except in one of three situations. The first is if you have to defend yourself. Like if it's you or them, make sure it's always them. Number two is if you have to defend someone who can't defend themselves, like a kid or a girl or something, then you fight. And three, and this one's a little bit more controversial, to defend the honor of a woman. Meaning if someone is humiliating or saying things about a girl and she can't defend herself, I believe force is necessary to end that. But as a rule, avoid fights at all costs, avoid violence at all costs. The last time I got into a fight was probably like 7 or 8 years ago. And it's kind of a funny story. Candace and I were like having an argument on Broadway in the middle of New York City. And this somewhat imposing figure came over to us, interrupted our fight, and was like trying to sell us candy. It's like a scam that guys do in New York City. And we said no, and like he wouldn't back off. And eventually he walked away and like turned to Candace and he was like, and f you, bitch. And like, you just can't talk to a woman like that. Then things got violent. Next question. Ooh, this is a good one. I like this a lot. Maddie asks, what's the least favorite movie you've ever made? It's actually, hold on, Maddie. Okay, I'm just covering up the name of the musician, but see how it says biggest mistake ever? That was a music video my brother Van and I directed in 2004. It just wasn't right. We should have said no, but we were dead broke, and it was the first like real opportunity to do something for real, like it was a music video. So we did it. It came out terribly. No one was happy, and to this day, it certainly has been like biggest mistake ever. And from that mistake, I learned so much about when you say yes and when you say no to gigs that involve money. Okay, awesome question from Alex. If you had a time machine, would you go back in life and do something differently? Yes. If I had a time machine, I would go back and be born in the year 1899. That means I could fight in World War I, I could fight in World War II, and then I could grow up and have my adult years go through from like 1940 to 1980, like the height of like American engineering when like it was really America was at its finest. and then die in the early 80s, just before the internet was born. Alberto, how have the daily vlogs impacted your channel? Tremendously. Growth is off the charts, like so many new viewers, so many new people coming to the channel, all really exciting stuff. And I still have like my canon of old movies, like the first 100 movies I made were not vlogs. So the channel, the dynamic of it has really changed, but for me it's like this library of all the work I've made since I stopped working with my brother in 2010. Okay. Considering your passion for hard work, is retirement in the cards? There are two things that I hope I never have to deal with in life. One is being sick. That's my ultimate fear. And then two is not being able to work. So retirement is like the sum of all fears for me. I hope I never have to retire. I hope I die working. I'll end the Q&A on this question with like a little story. So my muse, like my idol, my hero in life is my grandmother. And my Nana, she died a couple years ago. When she was 13 years old, maybe she was younger. When she was 13 years old, she learned how to tap dance. And that was like her passion, her dream, like the thing that inspired her more than anything in the world was tap dancing. She didn't stop tap dancing for the next 80 years. She literally tapped every single day. She moved out of New York City to Connecticut. She started a tap school in the 1950s. She had a tap studio in her home that she like taught children how to tap dance in. She did a recital every year where she would do a tap show for hundreds of people. And she did that literally until the day before she died. On a Friday, she had tap class where she had 20 students in her class and she was on her feet, tap, tap, tapping away. And then the next day she went to the hospital and then she died. That, like if I could sign a contract and get that deal, that's what I want out of life. I want to pursue my passion and work until the very end. I never want to retire. I made a movie about my Nana that tells this story in more depth. I'll link it below and then I'll put like a link thing here. You should watch that movie. She might be the most like inspirational human being I've ever met. It might make you cry. Okay, I'm going to go home now and change my pants. Actually, I have to walk home through the streets of New York City with my pants looking like this. I guess I'll just vlog it. One of the more popular questions when I do these Q&As is, don't you get embarrassed walking around the streets of New York talking into a camera? The answer is no. And today that question would be, don't you get embarrassed walking around the streets of New York City talking to your camera while your pants are ripped in half? And you know, the answer is still no. Of all the freaks and weirdos in this town, I'm still not even in the top 10%. Alright, I changed. I feel better. Oh, the blue collared shirt and my red pants. I feel like I belong at a country club. But sometimes you just gotta roll with it.